Good morning, my dear students. I am K. Srinivas Murthy, Associate Professor of Physics, Kalpataru First Grade Science College, Tiptur. In this presentation, I am going to discuss about one of the chapter of electromagnetism, which is nothing but Poynting vector. The topics covered in this presentation are definition of Poynting vector, expression for the Poynting vector, the derivation of the Poynting theorem, density of energy in an electromagnetic wave, and the transverse nature of electromagnetic wave. The definition: the energy transmitted per second per unit area of the surface being held perpendicular to the direction of propagation of the electromagnetic wave, is the definition for this Poynting vector. That means to say, if there will be an electromagnetic wave propagating in a particular direction, then if a surface is assumed perpendicular to the direction of propagation of the electromagnetic wave, then the energy passing through the surface in 1 second in a unit area of the surface is called as Poynting vector. The direction of the Poynting vector is same as the direction of propagation of the electromagnetic wave. That is, the Poynting vector will be a vector whose direction will be in the direction of propagation of the electromagnetic wave. Generally, the Poynting vector is represented with the symbol S and is given by S will be equal to E cross H, where vector E is the electric field vector and vector H represent the magnetic field. Now, let us consider the derivation of the Poynting theorem. In order to derive the expression for this Poynting theorem, now let us consider a medium whose nature is homogeneous, isotropic, and is free from charges and currents. Homogeneous means the medium should not have the variation in density at any portion of it. Isotropic means it should have the refractive index to be constant throughout, and it should not have any excessive charges or otherwise the currents. These conditions can be represented mathematically by sigma, the surface density of charge, which will be equal to 0, rho, the volume density of charge, that will be equal to 0, and J, the current density, that will be equal to sigma times E. Since sigma equals 0, J will be equal to 0. For these conditions, if you consider the Maxwell's equations, rather if you apply these conditions to the Maxwell's equation, the first equation becomes divergence of D will be equal to divergence of E, that is equal to 0. You know that the first equation is div D will be equal to rho, but rho is 0. As rho is 0, this div D will be equal to 0, and this is the first Maxwell's equation. And the same conditions are applied to the second Maxwell's equation, when in the second Maxwell's equation is divergence of B will be equal to 0. As B will be equal to mu times H, divergence of H is also equal to 0. The third Maxwell's equation is curl of E equals minus of delta B divided by delta T. Since B equals mu naught times H, that's equal to minus of mu naught into delta H divided by delta T. The fourth Maxwell's equation is curl of H will be equal to J plus of delta D divided by delta T. Curl of H will be equal to J plus of delta D divided by delta T. Since J equals 0, you are going to get curl of H will be equal to minus of delta D divided by delta T, that is equal to minus of epsilon naught into delta E divided by delta T. Taking the dot product of the equation 3, dot product of H on equation 3 and dot product of E on equation 4, we get for this one H dot curl E will be equal to minus of H dot mu naught delta H divided by delta T. Now let us represent this equation as A, and for this one E dot curl H will be equal to E dot epsilon naught into delta E divided by delta T, represented as equation B. Subtracting equation B by subtracting equation A by equation B, we get E dot curl H minus of H dot curl E will be equal to E dot epsilon naught delta E divided by delta T, minus of minus is plus H dot mu naught delta H divided by delta T. But we have from the vector identity E dot curl H minus of H dot curl E will be equal to del dot H cross E. Here you see in this expression the left hand side is same as that of the left hand side of the above equation. Therefore in the above equation, instead of this term we can add del dot H cross E, that is del dot H cross E equals E dot epsilon naught times delta E divided by delta T plus H dot mu naught delta H divided by delta T. Therefore del dot E cross H, del dot, this is H cross E, here we are going to write E cross H, so that at the right hand side we are going to get the negative sign. Therefore del dot E cross H will be equal to minus of epsilon naught times E into delta E divided by delta T plus of mu naught into H into delta H divided by delta T. Represent this one as equation C. Let us consider delta of E dot E divided by delta T. From the partial differential equation, we can write it as E dot delta E divided by delta T plus of E dot delta E divided by delta T, that is equal to 2 into E dot delta E divided by delta T. Therefore E into delta E divided by delta T will be equal to 1 by 2 into delta of E dot E divided by delta T, that is equal to 1 by 2 into delta E square divided by delta T. Call it as equation D. Similarly, for the magnetic vectors, we can write H dot delta H divided by delta T will be equal to 1 by 2 into delta of H dot H divided by delta T, and that's equal to 1 by 2 into delta H square divided by delta T. Call it as equation number E. Subtracting D and E in equation C. Subtracting D and E in the equation C, we are going to get divergence of E cross H equals minus of 1 by 2 into epsilon naught into delta E square divided by delta T plus of 1 by 2 into mu naught into delta H square divided by delta T. Taking the volume integral on both the sides of this equation, at the left hand side we are going to get volume integral of divergence of E cross H dV will be equal to minus of, right hand side is delta by delta T of volume integral 1 over 2 into epsilon naught into E square plus of half of mu naught into H square dV. Applying the Gauss divergence theorem to the left hand side of this equation, you are going to get the left hand side is volume integral of divergence of E cross H dV will be equal to surface integral of E cross H ds according to the Gauss divergence theorem. Therefore, surface integral of E cross H ds will be equal to, the right hand side is minus of delta by delta T of volume integral of 1 over 2 into epsilon naught into E square plus 1 by 2 into mu naught into H square dV. This mathematical expression or this the equation is called as the Poynting theorem. According to this theorem, work done on a charge by the electromagnetic force, which is nothing but the left hand side of this equation, is equal to the decrease, the negative sign, in energy stored in the field. The energy being flowed out through the surface. Now let us consider one more derivation, that is sharing of energy in an electromagnetic wave, and it could also be represented as density of energy in an electromagnetic wave. So from the Poynting theorem, they have derived it already. From the Poynting theorem, we will be having surface integral of E cross H ds equals minus of delta by delta T of volume integral of 1 by 2 into epsilon naught into E square plus 1 by 2 into mu naught into H square. We derived it already. That is, here you see the left hand side of this equation, this term, particularly this term E cross H. This term E cross H in turn is called as the Poynting vector, and it is represented as S. That is, S will be equal to E cross H. Therefore, surface integral of S dot ds will be equal to minus of delta by delta T of volume integral of 1 by 2 into epsilon naught into E square plus of 1 by 2 into mu naught into H square dV, where this term, the Poynting vector S equals E cross H. Since H equals 1 over mu naught times B, the same expression can be written as 1 over mu naught times E cross B. The Poynting vector represents the power density associated with an electromagnetic wave. From the above expression, energy stored per unit volume in an electromagnetic wave, U will be equal to this term 1 by 2 into epsilon naught ERMS square plus of 1 by 2 into mu naught HRMS square. Since HRMS square divided by ERMS square will be equal to epsilon naught divided by mu naught. Rather, rearranging the terms, we can write it as epsilon naught into ERMS square will be equal to mu naught into HRMS square. Substituting this in the above expression, we will get U will be equal to epsilon naught into ERMS square, and that is also equal to mu naught into HRMS square. From this expression, it is clear that, so this is the term in terms of the electric field vector, and this is the term in terms of the magnetic field vector. So that is, the energy density of an electromagnetic wave gets shared equally between the electric as well as magnetic intensities. The total energy of an electromagnetic wave gets shared equally between the electric as well as magnetic vectors in an electromagnetic wave. That's all about the expression for the energy density of an electromagnetic wave. Now let us consider another and also an important derivation of this chapter. In this chapter, actually, in this electromagnetic wave, we are going to consider the electromagnetic wave. The best example for the electromagnetic wave is nothing but the light wave. As we know, light wave is transverse in nature. What do you mean by the transverse nature of an electromagnetic wave? That is, if an electromagnetic wave propagates in a particular direction, then the fluctuations will be in a plane perpendicular to the direction of propagation of an electromagnetic wave. Already we know that the electromagnetic wave consisting of electric field vector and magnetic field vectors. According to this concept, these electric field vector and magnetic field vectors must be perpendicular to the direction of the electromagnetic wave, and we can prove this from the Maxwell's equations. In order to prove that one, now let us consider the electromagnetic wave equation. We already derived this one, and the wave equation is nothing but del square E equals mu epsilon into delta square E divided by delta T square, where mu is the permeability of the medium, epsilon is the permittivity of the medium in which the electromagnetic wave in turn propagates. Similarly, in terms of the magnetic field vectors, del square H equals same thing, mu into epsilon into delta square H divided by delta T square. The solution of these equations are, for the first equation, E equals E naught into e to the power of minus I omega t minus k dot r, called as equation number 1, where E naught represents the peak value, omega represents the angular frequency, and that's equal to 2 pi by lambda. K is the propagation vector and r is the position vector. Similarly, the solution of the second equation is H will be equal to H naught into e to the power of minus of I omega t minus of k dot r, called as equation number 2. And I already told you that k equals 2 pi by lambda, where k is called as the propagation constant, lambda is the wavelength. And differentiating equation 1 with respect to space, we get del dot E will be equal to Ik dot E naught e to the power of minus I omega t minus k dot r, that's equal to Ik dot, this term is nothing but E, therefore Ik dot E. You just compare this equation. Comparing this equation, in place of del, we are having Ik at the right hand side. Therefore, we can write del will be equal to I into vector k, called as relation 3. Similarly, differentiating the same equation, that is equation 1, with respect to time, we get delta E divided by delta t equals minus of I omega into E naught into e to the power of minus I omega t minus k dot r, that's equal to minus I omega here only, and this term is once again E itself. Therefore, delta by delta t will be equal to minus of I omega, called as equation number 4. Now, substituting equation 3 and 4 in Maxwell's equations in free space. For the first equation, del dot E will be equal to 0, del is nothing but Ik dot E will be equal to 0, and this expression proves that vector k is perpendicular to vector t. That is, propagation vector, direction of propagation of the electromagnetic wave will be perpendicular to the direction of the electric field. Similarly, second equation is del dot H will be equal to 0. Once again, del will be equal to Ik dot H, that's equal to 0. This proves that k is perpendicular to H. Now let us consider the third Maxwell's equation. The third Maxwell's equation is curl of E will be equal to minus of delta B divided by delta T. Here, this operator is nothing but Ik cross E equals minus of mu naught into minus I omega H, that's equal to minus of minus is plus I mu naught omega H. Here, these are all the constants things. Therefore, k dot k cross E will be equal to H. This proves that vector H is perpendicular to both k as well as E. Similarly, the fourth Maxwell's equation. The fourth Maxwell's equation is curl of H will be equal to delta D divided by delta T, and that's equal to epsilon naught into delta E divided by delta T. Therefore, del is nothing but Ik cross H equals minus of I epsilon naught omega E, that's equal to minus I epsilon naught omega E, and these are all once again the constants. Therefore, k cross H will be equal to some constant into E. Rather, this equation explains that k, H and E are mutually perpendicular to each other. This proves the electromagnetic transverse nature of the electromagnetic wave. And that is all about the derivation regarding the transverse nature. I hope you can understand very well. Dear students, if you are having any doubts, you can contact me through the mail, and I am ready to clear your doubts as possible. Thank you.